and welcome to the Feminine Drive. How are you this evening? I am your host, Warrior Empress. Welcome. We are into the third week of January 2021. And for all intent and purposes, we enter the carnival. Yeah? The thing start. Because Carnival Monday and Tuesday is the 15th and 16th, I think, of February. So, around now is when we know things would be buzzing. So this evening program would be we vibes in as it pertains to Carnival. You know, we talking a bit about how things would have been if it was normal. And the reason why we should, well, this is for the Carnival lovers, because we know it have people who don't celebrate Carnival, and that is alright. But I'm talking about Carnival being more than a street parade. Carnival being more than the fete and all the all-inclusives, and you see all of that? That is good. That is very good. But the real gist of Carnival, how we arrive at this place to be celebrating Monday and Tuesday, Carnival Monday and Tuesday. You know, the persons behind that, how we reach there, especially for the young ones. And a lot of times we say, well, the youths, they don't know the history of Trinidad and Tobago, but who to blame? They are not taught. They don't know. And it's not just the youth of this country. A lot of adults here would be surprised. Don't have a clue about our history. You know, they just see things happening and we enjoying things, but a lot of times they don't know the hardships, the sacrifices, and all the things that went into giving us the product we have today. So, you know, we have a lot of talk from different circles, whether or not we should have virtual things, but people still doing the thing anyhow. But as I said, let's go back a bit. Because if you don't know your history, there is no way you can appreciate what you have today. In anything in life, if you don't know how things came, you just see things and you're enjoying, but you would not have an appreciation. Even in your homes, you tell your children, but just so, or you're using things, you don't know how it come, you don't know who money pay for it, and you're just abusing. Well, on a wider scale, this is what I'm talking about in society, not just as it pertains to the carnival, but you know, this is the time, as I said, the things start, whether officially or not, the things start. And I just think we should understand where this thing really started. Because for me, as a creative, I believe that I should be grateful for those who went before me, the persons who cleared the pathway, so that I could sit down here now, confident as a creative, and talk about the festival. Somebody put on that work for me, you know. Somebody cleared that path. Right? You know, so when persons talk about fete, and a lot of people just focusing on they ain't getting to fete and they ain't getting to play mass, and we stick up in a bit. And a lot of us don't like to identify with African spirituality and anything African. And I'm talking straight, a lot of us don't like to identify with it. But let's go back. Carnival, right? Not as we know it today. Let me give you a little history for who don't know. The French, they always had their masquerade, the masquerade ball, where they wear their masks, and they always had the happenings going on. They always had their celebration. Now back then, the slaves, right? And I'm talking about the French plantation owners, right? They would have the bourgeois thing, as we would say. The slaves could not partake in that. So they used to have their own thing. They used to mimic and do their own thing, right? Because, as they say, they were foul, cockroach rather, in a foul party. So they couldn't mix. They had to know their place. And they used to have their own thing, doing their own little, they had their own thing, mimicking the French slave master. When emancipation came around 1838, well, they got a little more freedom to celebrate and to continue with their own celebration, right? Which we know as Cambule. That is why we have the reenactment today that takes place on the said spot. But let me not get there yet. We're talking about these slaves who would celebrate and have what we call Cambule. Now that originated really from a festival or a time when they used to cut and burn sugarcane. They will cut the sugarcane and burn it, and Cambule was that process. Wasn't spelled the Cambule as we spell it today. It was Cannes, BRUL, I think WS, something like that. But anyway, that phrase meant the cutting and the burning of the sugarcane, that time of the sugarcane festival. Fast forward it a little bit, and the slaves and the freed slaves, all of them, they had Cambule. It started to get so big that Captain Baker and the boys and them, and that is where I'm going now, behind the bridge, Piccadilly, they decided that they're going to stop it. And that is where it had the 1881 riots, where Captain Baker and his boys were defeated. Now that, how I am talking about it, of course, that is not how it happened. It was very brutal. People lost their lives, right? It was very brutal because they fought to maintain their celebration. Well, we know there were, if ever you had, how to put it, if ever you went behind the bridge, the Friday before Carnival, Dr. Pearl and Two Springer and Ida Kada group, they would reenact the Cambule festival. And they would tell the story exactly or as close as it happened back then in 1881. They would reenact that. So our ancestors who fought to continue to celebrate in their own way, because as I said before, they couldn't partake in the one that the French plantation owners had, right? The people have a little freedom. Captain Baker and the boys decide, hey, we have to shut down that. They said, nah, we're not having none of this. And they fought and they won. And Monday and Tuesday, I fast forward in the thing, Monday and Tuesday was given to them. They said, alright, or they take Monday and Tuesday and have all their celebration. So, we are reach how it happening now, we talking about how it was back then. Monday and Tuesday, they parading the Dame Lorraine and the Baby Doll and all these characters. That is from since 1881. Right? Now, all of the revolution take place in terms of the art, and we fast forward and then the things start to change, and the mass get how to transform, and it is what we know it to be. So I give that a little history, and as I said, you could research it. I may not remember every detail, but you could research it. So all of that history is what gives us the carnival that we have today. And Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, the people who celebrate Carnival in the Caribbean and some of the developed countries, we influence that. Yes, we Trinidad and Tobago influence Carnival in over 100 different countries. So the fact that we're not having any official Carnival does not mean the spirit of the ancestors not prevalent in the atmosphere. You can't get rid of energy. You cannot get rid of spirit. Now is the time. That's why I say the thing start. When the show open, I say the thing start. Because who knows. Now is the time that the energy of the ancestors it prevalent. Because for years, we say thank you to them, we pay homage to them by our carnival, by our celebration. You know, even back then, they tried to suppress the steel band. They try, because we see today steel band is well and alive. So all of that, right? Steel band men went through real plenty. Stick fighters went through real plenty. So how we could come now and feel because there is no official carnival that could just die. It doesn't work like that. That is why I find it real. I'll be careful on my words there, but I find it really disrespectful for the governing body that is responsible for carnival in Trinidad and Tobago to have this well kinda, you know, how to put it, boy? Look, well, we ain't doing nothing and we ain't doing nothing. Because for me, it send a message as if carnival is only the Savannah stage. That's how it came across to me. As if carnival is only about Queen's Park Savannah, beads and feathers, and that's it. Carnival is much more than that. It is much more than that. And as I said before, sometimes we enjoying things in life and we don't know how it come. So when we thinking about the fetting and we thinking about all that costuming, I ain't against nobody playing their pretty mask and going in the big money fet. That is not the point. The point is, that didn't happen just so. That could have never happened just so. So I feel within myself that something could have been done to say, thanks to the ancestors at least. Something could have been done. And you want to tell me, so nobody couldn't think up, not on a national level, to pay homage? So because we can't go to a fete and make big money, and because people can't parade in the streets, is like, that is a day? That could never be it. And you see, we in Trinidad and Tobago don't think about after. Sometimes we just watch the now. We don't think about after. I believe in the old saying, ungratefulness is worse than bad witchcraft. I believe that. Because regardless whether it's carnival or whatever area of life, you must acknowledge the foreigners. You must acknowledge the people who put things in place for you. You must acknowledge. We can't be so ungrateful one time. We can't be so ungrateful. And you know, we just rock back and we waiting for 2022. And you know, we just talk like if we in charge, you know, boy. Like if we know what 2022 will bring. So, you know, we just rock back and we waiting for 2022. I am saying here, I am a bit disappointed that more wasn't done in terms of something historical, something in terms of acknowledging history. It don't have to be a street. We can't have no street parade. So let me forget that. We can't have no street parade. But I thought the powers that be, the governing bodies, would have recognized those who went before us, what they did. At least educate people, because a lot of people, especially the young ones, don't have a clue about what I just talked about with Captain Baker. Who is that Captain Baker? Right? Even Calypso. How those things started for what we have today. We go talk a little more, but let's go for a commercial break. Alright? Stay tuned. Welcome back. So we talking carnival, we talking the things that we are in the carnival atmosphere. Say what you want. And for those of you who just joined us, welcome. Right? It's me alone on set this evening. You know, we vibes in. We talking about what happened back then and what would have brought the celebration to what it is today. Spoke about the revolt, so to speak, with Captain Baker, and well, he was defeated. He and his cohorts, they were defeated to give us what we have today as Carnival Monday and Tuesday. And even though we don't have official carnival celebration, what is happening in the atmosphere, nobody could stop that. I said before we went on the break that the energies of our ancestors are very present. Those who fought, those who lost their lives to preserve what we have today, because that energy is very much in the atmosphere, we might as well say, yes, the things that carnival is happening, right? Understand, carnival is beyond the street parade. That is, and beyond the fete and all that. I think that is the point I want to drive home. Carnival is greater than that. It is greater than that. I think 2021 rather, coming off of course, 2020, which got us in the position we are today right now, that we cannot celebrate officially. It is a time when persons should look at their history, the historic part of Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. Calypso. For example, people like Alice Sugar, people like Lady Trinidad, Lady Irie. These women were the early Chantwell singers. They were the ones that took all the insult for us. They were the ones that stood up when men found that, or not just men, when the public find that a woman shouldn't sing calypso. They were the one that took all the tongue lashing for us. And yes, they would have transitioned, but it is not, they are not here with us in flesh, but they are here with us in spirit. And we believe that, a lot of us believe that when a person dies, that is not it. That is it as the flesh is concerned. But remember, these people did a lot for the development of our culture. And as I said before, when we are ungrateful to our forerunners, when we are ungrateful to those who would have laid the foundation, a lot of times we find ourselves in problems as a nation. We find ourselves in problems because we are not grateful. We don't honor the elders. And we are slowly becoming a society where we disrespect elders. I'm not quite playing. Right? We disrespect even those who are amongst us, the elders who have contributed to the development of Trinidad and Tobago, not just the cultural landscape, to elders who or assist in building what we have today. We are very disrespectful. So you could imagine for those who transition, we don't want to hear nothing about them, but without them we would not have had what we are enjoying today. That's my point. Without them, right? Even steel band as it is today, or steel pan as it is today, without those forerunners, we could not be enjoying what we have today. And Carnival 2021, even again, without the official celebration, we should have had events where we acknowledging these people. Virtual events. A lot of times I believe we like to sit down and depend on this one to do something, depend on that one to do something, and everybody blaming. That is our culture in this country. We love to blame. Nobody making a move. We have enough cultural groups in this place that, we could come together, or somebody could come out and decide we're doing this or we're doing that. But those are just my thoughts. I am focusing on, and as I said when I opened the program, more so to the young persons who don't have the history. It is good for us to acknowledge our ancestors, those who give us what we have today. For me, I am very, very grateful for people like Lady Trinidad and Lady Irie and all of those women who used to go in the Gael to support the men when they go to stick fight. Right? You always had these women. That's why I call myself a Chantwell singer, because you see that vibes. That is the rudiment really of our calypso music. That is the foundation, right? That rhythm. Kaiso music coming from Kaiso, coming from West Africa, the rhythms. And these are the things that we need to honor and we need to hold on to. I also believe when you have information of the foundation of something, you could give a better product because you understand where the source came from. So in putting together your product, your cultural product, once you have the information, it causes you to go deeper to present. Just like dances, I know, well, my thing is West African dance, but in terms of the ballet and all these different dances, they have a history. And I remember one tutor said to me, he said, Best Village Rel change up now. People dance, but they don't know the history of the dances. They are not taught anymore the history of the dances. They just dance. Again, who are you blaming for that? Who are you blaming for that? Who are you blaming for that? We have tutors. As far as I know, we have tutors. And the role of the tutor or tutors, their role is to impart knowledge onto persons who don't have that knowledge. So it's not just to teach dance steps or to teach drumming, but it's to give the history. And when you have the history, it ignites a different energy in you. It ignites a different energy. So for me, singing calypso, me as a female calypsonian, as a female performance artist, because I read somewhere, I think it's in Dr. Rudolph Otley, I think it's in his book, where calypso rose, right? Don't fault me at trying to remember. I think it's in his book, Women in Calypso, where Calypso Rose was saying, you should be able to do other types of music other than calypso. But calypso is the foundation. So it's good to diversify as a calypsonian. But we cannot deny the foundation music. We cannot deny the music that builds us. We cannot deny, because as I said before, that rhythm came from West Africa. So I am waiting for nobody to tell me to say thanks to Lady Trinidad and to Lady Irie and to Carissa Jane, to Alice Sugar, to all of those women, right, who were the forerunners, who could ensure that we bold and brave singing our calypso. I don't want to wait for anybody to tell me to say thanks, because I understand the power of ancestors. I understand that very, very well. And earlier I said something that a lot of us, now calypso is not restricted to people of African descent, but we know predominantly it is African people who sing calypso, right? We have seen in Trinidad and Tobago, we had people of other ethnic groups, even presently, that sing calypso and go into the calypso tent. But calypso, there is no denying that it is an art form that mostly people of African descent take part. And because of the history again and where it came from, right? Because of the... Similarly, chutney. Mostly people of East Indian descent take part in chutney because of its history and the bass music where that came from. But a lot of us don't like to associate ourselves with anything that is of African spirituality. We don't like to associate ourselves, but it's real funny, and it's funny till it's laughable. We don't like to associate ourselves with those things. But again, how the carnival came about, how a lot of things that you enjoy, how it came about. Back then, in the 1881 eras, back then with Captain Baker, as I said, and all what was happening with the slaves and the freed slaves even, drumming. The British colonial masters, they banned drumming. We know you couldn't drum. That is the whole time in with spiritual Baptist and Orisha, anything African was problem in this country. And you know, sometimes I just want to say, not was, no, still is problem. still is problem. But that is a conversation for next time. Right? That is a conversation for next time. But we seem to have a problem with anything associated with African spirituality. And it's just a matter of understanding. Understanding that everybody not aligned to the same pathway in life. And you don't have to be. Everybody don't have to be aligned. We cannot be. Although we were created by one divine creative source, we are all on different pathways. I just say it's a matter of respecting people. Respecting each other's choice. But nothing is wrong with trying to understand so that you wouldn't have a negative attitude towards something that you're not so sure about. Take some time and get a little knowledge. Get a little knowledge. And that will cause us to have a more harmonious relationship in this country. Now, it has some people who glad it ain't a carnival, right? Me have no problem with that neither. Whether for religious reasons or otherwise. I had no problem with that. I had no problem with that. But again, we're looking at the bigger picture. We're looking at the economy of the country, the cultural economy, and what it does for Trinidad and Tobago in terms of tourism. Right? I'm going for our next commercial break. When we come back, we're talking about the Calypso tents. Stay tuned.
Lavender Center. At Lavender Center, we specialize in Gushian therapy, provide treatments for chronic diseases, and a range of healthcare services to give you that feel-good boost when you need it. Let your food be your medicine, and let your medicine be your food.
Right. So we're back in again. Welcome to those who just joined. Welcome to the Feminine Drive. It's me by myself this evening. Yeah, no guest this evening, just Warrior Empress. And I'm talking about Carnival because, as I said, we inside the thing and the thing starts. Right? It's the 22nd of January. The month almost finished. Carnival is the 15th and 16th. We inside the thing, the energies are in the atmosphere. People talking about, oh gosh, I get out of banker, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. And they're feeling it. They're feeling the energies are there. They're missing it. Everybody missing Carnival for different reasons. There are those who would miss it because of monetary reasons. That is the time they used to hustle. And that is a real thing too. Persons used to make the coins, make the good little money around Carnival time. And I'm talking about from the artists to the vendors. Everybody listen to me. Most people used to make an extra dollar Carnival time. So we have persons who missing Carnival for that, and we have those who missing because hey, it ain't no lime, it ain't no party. They're frustrated, right? But it is what it is, and complaining and griping and go help it. I was saying, if you now join, that even though we're not on the street celebrating, we still ought to celebrate Carnival because we ought to pay homage to the ancestors. And I personally feel we do acknowledge the foreigners. We do acknowledge, and when I say we, also, especially from what I see play out, the persons who are responsible, the responsible bodies for Carnival in this country, I feel they really understand the history, because enough acknowledgement is not given to those who went before us. And if they were really, acknowledging those persons who have us celebrating Carnival as we know it today, I feel something could have been done still instead of just saying we are doing nothing. Something could have been done, right? Calypso tents, I said I would touch on Calypso tents. Maybe, well, I didn't hear anything official from tents, except one tent in the south. Calypso is a control crowd. We could do things virtually too. No, you know what's so funny? You know what's so funny? Since 2020, COVID hit we when? March, right? COVID hit we in March. We watching how the thing was developing. And plenty of us didn't need to hear the Prime Minister say no carnival, you know. Let me be honest. Let us be honest. Whilst we watching the development of the thing, plenty of us knew, oh gosh, carnival was a no-no. We saw it. We just got it official from the Prime Minister, but we knew there wasn't going to be no carnival. So then, it's as if now, everybody acting so surprised. You know, nobody in... And I'm talking about them who out there. I'm talking about the small artists like me who would still put on a virtual show and all of that. All the different colors, so tense and all of that. So, asking, nobody didn't sit down behind the scene and say, "Yo, wait on. It's looking like we having no carnival next year. Let me see if we can do this thing virtual. Have a virtual tent." Right? I really disheartened to see that I didn't see more people coming forward doing something in a meaningful way. I'm telling you the truth. I disappointed. Because as I said, we see it, we saw it coming, wasn't going to have no carnival. But again, everybody's sitting down and waiting on the government. I ain't no champion for the government, but I'm talking straight. Everybody was sitting down waiting on the government. Right? Everybody's sitting down waiting. But carnival, somebody was telling me, carnival or the carnival around the world, they're not so sure. They're not so sure if government does really, you know, like nurse them. You know. I mean, their organizations just come together to make sure carnival happen. Right? And maybe now is a time that will cause a lot of changes. I think we go slide back into 2022 carnival just so. I just feel it won't happen like that. There would be a lot of changes. But I feel we could have done better, man. We could have done better. We could have done better. Organize something virtually. Because the world just descend here, you know. A lot of people come here for our carnival. We could have feed them something. But again, everybody watching and everybody talking, and we feel, well, carnival is only, maybe we feel carnival is only the fets, and carnival is only the parade to play mass, and that is, most people, that is all they're concerned about. Alright, everybody had a choice. Some people never went to a calypso tent yet. For them, carnival is playing mass. Alright, nothing wrong with that. Some again is fet. They ain't playing no mass, they're fetting. Every fet they're hitting. And then, of course, there are those who they would take part in calypso and stuff like myself. It doesn't matter. Take part in carnival. So this thing is not an isolated thing. And you're still getting people, you're still getting segregation, and it's like, we ain't get to do this, and this section, we ain't get to do that. When will we come together in this country to preserve our culture? When we would merge. It doesn't matter whether you are of the upper echelon of society or whether you are of the lower echelon. When would we come together to save our culture? When we go do that, boy? When? When we go do that? Because everybody's affected now. Every single body's affected now. And that is what I like about life, you know. That is what I like about life. There are certain situations that it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody gets affected, because now everybody gets affected. But we still, when you listen to conversations, when you're on the ground and you listen to people talking, it's sounding as if, well, it's them and we, you're still getting that. You're still getting that. And I say the ancestors must be so disappointed. You know what it is to fight for something, for other people to benefit. And now when you look at how they're not taking care of it, how you just feel? How you feel if you give somebody a gift and they're not taking care of it? When you buy stuff for your children and they're not taking care of it, how do you feel? You went to work, you work hard, and you spend your money to give your children or your family stuff and they're not taking care of it. How do you feel? It's the same way our ancestors feeling. It's the same way. Now things must revolutionize, eh? No. Warrior is not saying the carnival should have stayed how it was back then. I am not saying that. Although plenty changes that took place, I'm not so sure it took place for the better. But again, everybody have their opinion, and that could be a whole argument in terms of a lot of changes I'm talking about how we used to enjoy carnival before. You know, a lot of the routes change, and for me it's not enjoyable again, how from my eyes, for me, because a lot changed to suit the business community, so to speak, right? And you have people telling you, well, you know, the real mess with the carnival. Too much changes, it get too commercialized. But again, that is the world today. So I guess Trinidad just following suit. But I'm going back to the point of what really, the whole gist of this episode is me saying to you, we must not be ungrateful as a people. That is my whole thing. With all the talk I talking on this episode, we must not be ungrateful to those who would have laid the foundation for what we enjoying today. And it's like, I feel in a personal hurt. You don't know how things came about. You don't know how things came about. You ain't even had the history of 1881. But you're enjoying things today. And you didn't see it fit to pay homage to them ancestors who worked so hard to give us carnival. You didn't see that as important. You didn't see that as important at all. Plenty people don't know the history, that is alright. But what about those who know and who have the say, or they didn't see that as important? Carnival is alive and well. Without the street parade, without all the parties and everything else, carnival is alive and well, because carnival is much more than jumping up on the savannah stage. Carnival goes beyond that. Carnival represents the struggle of a people. It represents the rebellion of a people. It represents freedom. That is what carnival represents. And nothing could take that away. Nothing could take that away. And we must start acknowledging that. I feel when we start to be humble enough, things will develop different with our culture. But we're very ungrateful as a people. We're very, very ungrateful. Very ungrateful. Let's go for our next commercial break. Right, I started getting a little emotional there now, because as I said, I grew up old school, and apart from that, I just know that you must be grateful. That is my mantra. Well, I guess some history, and as I said, I expressed myself, and I know I am not alone in this regard, talking about what we should have done rather. And going forward, right, we have those who made the effort and they are still honoring the spirit of carnival, the festivity of carnival, and we have persons who are doing online events, etc. And I urge you to support these people. Online events, let me tell you this, online events are not as easy as people think it is. From experience, it is harder than our actual physical event. So I say kudos to those persons who who honoring the spirit of Carnival and who decide to still fight up and do something. Well, you all know the Warrior Empress, in collaboration with Music Mill, we are having Uncrowned Queens, right? I'm sure you all know about that by now. If you ain't know, well, the flyer is circulating. Check it out and support, right? We want to support the artists. We want to support the whole atmosphere of Carnival. We want to show our support, right? I miss the actual event, but I'm making the best of what I have. I am making the best of what is available to me to say thanks. And it's in being thankful and having a spirit of gratitude that is when we are blessed, you know. And that is when things is open up in a different way for us. It's not about sitting down and complaining. It's about making the best of what is available to you. And that is life. That is life, basically. Because it is what it is. It is what it is. Right? So, after this evening, no feminine drive on the 29th, next Friday. Taking a little break. And then on the 5th, we have our show. So I ain't staying too long. But I almost stay an hour anyway. But I needed to discuss. I really needed to discuss this issue of us not acknowledging the forerunners and not paying homage to the ancestors by doing something that was worthwhile. I really had to discuss that. So, whatever you are doing in your little way, if you're part of other events, congratulations. And please, people, support the artists, support persons who are doing. I cannot say it enough. Let's support. We just talk support, you know, but we don't support at all, boy. We only talk support. We sit down and we try to assess all what we think happening with that person. No, that is not it. Support is about the arts. It's about the arts and culture. Support, and let's just have a grand time. Let's just say thank you to the ancestors for giving us Carnival. Because we have Carnival. We have it. You ain't going out on the streets and put on your costume, but Carnival is alive and well. So, I am saying thank you to my ancestors first. I'm saying thank you to those who have supported me and for those who are going to continue to support me. Because when you support me, you're supporting the ancestors. When you support any artist, you're supporting the ancestors, because that's who we are. That's who we are. We carry on the tradition. It's not a personal thing, you know. People think it's a personal thing when you support. It's not. All you're supporting an individual, it's bigger than that, you know. You are supporting your ancestors. That's who you are supporting. If you say you love the culture, you are supporting them because they transition, but their works continue in other people. So when you support the works of others, you're supporting your ancestors. You're saying thank you to them. You're saying thank you to them. I could not have been here without them. I could not have been here without them. So, stay tuned. The 5th of February, 8 p.m. You will join us for Uncrowned Queens. Listen, this thing ain't hard, you know. People saying about, so how you paying and all, this thing ain't hard. Check the flyer. All the payment details on the flyer. Take your time. Look at the one that applies to you. You don't have a credit card? No problem. Do a bank transfer. You don't want to do a bank transfer or you cannot do it? Alright, call Warrior 304-1022 and I will come and collect the cash. So we have 4 payment options. 4 payment options for you to access. You must find one that's suited for you. Now, Zelle is for people in the US, right? PayPal, people on the outside, anywhere in the world. But for my local people, who many of you all will say, well, I have no card. Call me, man. I come in and collect the cash. So you have no excuse not to support. Not, you hear what I say? Not just Warrior. You have no excuse not to support your fellow Calypsonians or the art form, and on the bigger scale, your ancestors. Right? When you pay the money, you will get the link to look at the show. The link would be given on the day of the show. And I don't think I need to say why the link will be given on the day of the show. I don't think I need to say why. So you pay, and the link will be given to you on the day of the show, and you get to watch the show. 20 US or 140 TT. Alright? So, looking forward again. We lime in on the 5th, and we will have a grand time. So until then, take care of yourself. Enjoy the carnival, yes. Support all who you could support. Don't complain. Just give thanks. Just give thanks. And have a wonderful evening. So see you next time. Take care.